Hello friends, it's Jayma here, and today I'm going to create a title page for my Vancouver album. This is the creative design team and me, and if you follow any of our channels, you probably already know that last year we went on a trip, all of us together, to Vancouver, Canada, and it was the first time that all of us got together in person. And we are making this an annual trip. We just got back from San Diego last month for another trip, and you might have caught my video earlier this week where I scrapbooked my first layout from that trip. Anyways, this photo is very special because, first of all, it's the first time all of us got together in person. It was at the airport right after the last of us arrived together in Vancouver. And it's also very special because I am scrap lifting my very good friend Erin here because we are celebrating her 30,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And when each of us reach a big milestone like that, we celebrate because it's a huge accomplishment and we scrap lift the person. So we are all this week scrap lifting Erin, and some friends of hers and team members will be scrap lifting next week as well. So I chose this layout that you can see on screen now. As you can see, it's the exact same photo, and I love what she did with this layout, and I thought it was so brilliant to use that all of us together title that she used for the title page of this particular album. So I want to do the same. However, I'm going to change up the papers a little bit. So it's not going to be a straight scrap lift. That would be a little bit too easy, right? If I use the same photo and the same paper and everything. So I am going to use a lot of the same elements. So I pulled out the kit that she used. This is the Everyday You and Me. And the sticker sheet is what you see here. I've got the Scrapbook Kit, and that is where this title comes from. It's one of the die cut pieces. Now the Scrapbook Kit is sold out now and retired. However, you can still get the sticker sheet with the paper pack or just the paper pack, and but you just won't have this title. But I did want to show you this brand new stamp set. Would work perfectly for an album title. This adventure starts here. I actually considered using that for this because the adventure started here. This is the beginning of our big adventure, and this is actually shown a little bit smaller than real size. This is the real size right here. So it's a little smaller than this, but it would still make a really great title. So if you have this or you wanted to pick it up because it is brand new, then that would work great in place of this if you are also working on a title album. So just wanted to show that to you. But I decided to stick with this because I didn't know when else I would use it, and I just really loved the idea of using it with this, and I loved her layout. So I am going to change some things up though, because if you can see in this picture, we've got these beautiful pink cherry blossoms behind us. This was a gorgeous backdrop here at the Vancouver airport, and so I wanted to bring in a little bit of pink, and but I am still going to use some elements from this kit as well. So I'm going to set that to the side. I'll probably bring in some stickers later. I needed to find some paper that would work with this pretty peacock color as well as the wild wheat. Now I wasn't necessarily having to stick exactly to the wild wheat color because I can bring that in maybe in some stickers, or there's I'm not sure our happy place is going to work with it, but there's little flowers here that's got the wild wheat and the pretty peacock. I could maybe bring those in. So I'm not too worried about the wild wheat exactly, but I did want to make sure I had some of the pretty peacock color. So what I did was I pulled out this brand new paper pack, and I love this paper pack. I love everything about it. Bright colors are so pretty, and this sheet right here I thought would be perfect for this photo because we've got a lot of pink tones. There's kind of this dusty pink, purpley pink, and corally pink. So I don't want this right behind my photos. That's going to be real busy, but I was thinking maybe down at the bottom piece like she used. She didn't have a busy paper at the bottom, but that's what I'm thinking is doing that. And then There's this pattern right here as well, which has the cloud cover. So this is the back of this one. It has the cloud cover blue-gray color that is in this paper pack. So you can see it matches these flowers here. But I didn't love the cloud cover with my photo. It just kind of washes it out and looks a little bit blah to me. But when I pulled in this paper, this is the same paper that Erin used as well. It's not the exact blue that's in this paper, but I think it's going to blend nicely. So I think I'm going to use these. And then the other thing I did was I pulled out the Country Woods. So this is a really great paper pack with just tons of wood grains, dark tones, light tones, blues. There's some multicolored, some really light colors. This is a must-have paper pack. It mixes in with just about any paper pack you could ever want it to. So I pulled this one out because I thought that this tone matched nicely with all of this. It matches the wood floor that is in our photo, and it works well with this wild wheat color that's in my title. Last but not least, what I pulled out is the Scrapbooking Kit for Memories in Bloom, and that goes with this Pretty Florals paper pack. So there's the DSP pack that's, I think it's called Pretty Florals, and it's got just the paper, and it's got lots of paper, lots of florals with more neutral backs. The Scrapbooking Kit doesn't have as many patterns of the paper, but what it does have is sticker sheets and die cuts, and that's what I love about the scrapbooking kits. I did do a walkthrough and showed a lot of detail of all 4 scrapbook kits that just released, so I'll link that down below if you missed it and want to see all the components. But basically you have 3 2-page layouts created for you in this guide that you can follow if you would like. However, I typically do my own thing and like to use the parts and pieces of the kit in my own way, and you can do that too. So these are the stickers, and so I might use some of the stickers, but what I really like is up here we have all of these sayings like creative, beautiful, strong. Like all of these would be so perfect to use as little word pieces on my layout, so I love that. Although we have some on the other sticker sheet as well that could also work. We have some die cut florals here. So Erin had some florals that she stamped and die cut out, so she made her own ephemera pieces. I might use these. I don't want to get too crazy with lots of different color combos. I don't think I want to bring in the red. I might stick with like the pink and peach. And then like maybe this one, bring in a little bit of green. I'm going to use the Granny Apple Green for my leaf colors because that's what's in these. So these are the ones that are calling to me right off the bat. We've got this one too that is peach. So I don't know, I'll pull that one out. I might use it, maybe I can tuck it under something, but I feel like it might, although it does match, this is kind of a peachy pink. Well, I'll pull it out, I may or may not use it. So we have all of these in the scrapbooking kit as well. And then we've got all of the cardstock, although I'm not sure I'm gonna use any of this cardstock. But I wanted to look at the pattern paper because the pattern papers are a little bit different, and I think there was this same pattern in here. And I might use that one instead depending on what's on the back. So here we go. Exactly the same. It's not even screened back. A lot of times they'll make the colors not quite as bright just to screen it back a little bit better, so it's better for scrapbooking. And this is on the back of this one. And then this one has this pattern on the back. I love this pattern. I've used almost the full sheet of the other one that came with it. So I think what I'll do is save this so I can use this pattern because this pattern is not in the scrapbooking kit. We do have a pattern that's very similar. This is one of the background pages, but it's not the same. And I also I really like having a pattern in this dark secret sea color because it's just so good for grounding and using when you just need a good dark neutral. So I'm going to go ahead and use this because I don't mind using more of this. I also have this pattern over in this pack as well. So we'll go ahead and use this with our layout today. And I think that's about it. So I am going to go ahead and start deciding on my paper placements. Okay, here's where I'm at now. I cut down this paper, but just like Erin did, I plan to rip it. So I cut it a little bit taller than I think I'm gonna want it. And I need this to go on it. But as you can see, this just kind of blends into the background on that, so we need to make that stand out. I did add Pretty Peacock to the back as my border, but I'm not loving it. So I've got a couple of other options. This is the new Secret C from from Stampin' Up. And this is Harbour from Close to My Heart. So you can see they're very similar. The Secret C is darker, more like a midnight navy blue. And this does have a little more turquoise in it. It's kind of in between the Pretty Peacock and the Secret C. So I pulled out Secret C because that's actually one of the colors in here. So you can see it here in this paper. Let me actually pull this mat out of the way so you can see it better. So we've got that, and I wanted it darker because I think Erin used a darker color as well, but we're all wearing pretty dark colors. And so I feel like having the darker color helps to ground the whole page. And but let me try the Harbour as well, because then that's kind of in between the two colors, and I feel like it might blend into the Pretty Peacock a little bit better. And I do like that. So I'm gonna go with the Harbour from Close to My Heart. And then we have this pattern as well. So Erin used that as a background here. And I think she must have used a 4x6 photo because her photo's looking a little bit smaller than mine. I've got it up in front of me, but I've got a 5x7. And what she did was she matted it in the same dark color. She might have even used Harbour. I didn't watch her video back, but it might be Harbour as well. And so she matted her photo in white and then Harbour, or I think she printed it with a white border and then matted it in Harbour so it would pop off of this. And then she matted this in Harbour as well, so it would pop off of this background, but she had a busier background back here. She also had two strips going down here and then a different pattern going down the middle. I think I'm just gonna keep it as one pattern. She was following the workshop guide that was for this Everyday You and Me and just did some alterations to it. So I'm thinking I want to do something like this, and I'm gonna use my background paper wisely here since we're gonna cover up a lot of this. Actually, we're gonna cover up almost all of this so we can gut out the whole inside, but then we're gonna cover up a lot of this wood grain as well. And I'm thinking I might want to back this in the wood grain so that it pops. So if I cut out a piece that's big enough for it, from behind here where the photo is going to be, then we're utilizing this paper as well as this background paper. So let me show you how to gut this. I've shown it here before, but it's been a while. So what I do to gut my paper, or hollow it out, sounds a little bit better. I heard Julie use that term. I'm gonna put it in my paper trimmer. You need a trimmer like this, not a guillotine trimmer. That won't work because we're going to cut about 1 inch of the way in to create a border. So I've got my inch mark right here, and I'm gonna push it over to there, and then I'm going to bring my blade up to 1 inch because we're gonna have 1/4 of an inch showing all the way around, but we also need space for our adhesive. So we're going to go 1 inch all the way up to 6 inches, and then we'll turn it, bring it over to the 1 inch again. Since my blade's already up here, I'll just start at the 11 and then pull it down to the 1, and we'll just keep doing that all the way around. Okay, so you can see here I've got just a 1 inch frame all the way around. And then here I cut out more than I needed, but I did the same idea on this one. I just held up my photo and kind of figured out how much space I'm going to need. Now there's going to be, you know, more frames around it, so it's going to fill that whole area. And then now I've got adhesive on the edges of the two sides and the top, but not across the bottom because it's only going to come to about here. So I'll just line this up. Okay, so that doesn't look like much now, but it will. I'm gonna wait to glue this down because I want to tear it, and I'm not quite sure how high I want it yet. But what I think I wanna do is crop my photo about another 1/2 of an inch or so, just so, because we have just a lot of floor showing. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim that. So it'll be 4.5 by 7 as the final size. So still a little bit bigger than 4 by 6. And then now I can trim 1/2 inch off my mat as well. Okay, so we have our Harbour piece. We have this that's going to be matted behind it, and then this is going to be matted behind that again. So we're going to have 2 more mats with this, but I want to get both mats out of this one paper. So we're going to cut it strategically. Okay, so I'm actually going to get a scrap paper so I can write these down. So the photo is now 4.5 by 7. So my white mat is 4 3/4 by 7 1/4. So that I want this mat that I still need to cut to be 5 by 7.5, because I want each one to be 1/4 inch bigger, but I'm not going to cut it yet. And then this one, I want that to be a 1/2 inch border, or maybe even more. Let's start with 1 inch and see if we can get enough out of here. So for this to be 1 inch bigger, so that gives us 1/2 inch all the way around. We want 5 to be 6 by 8.5. That means this last mat, which is going to be 1/4 inch bigger than that, I hope you're following me, we're going to want to be 6.25 by 8.75. Okay, so these are going to be the 2 Harbour mats. So now you can see why I wanted to write this down. I tried doing it in my head before and I just kept confusing myself. So I had to write it down. Okay, so I'm going to start by cutting my biggest mat, which is 6.25 by 8.75, and hope that I did all of my math correctly. So I'll go ahead and cut that. So hopefully that's going to be good. And then this one needs to be 6 by 8.5. So we'll go 6. I'm starting here at the 8.5. And then now this one, I'll go over to 8.5 and go up to 6. Since it's right down the middle, it doesn't matter if you come down or up. So now that should be just a tad bit smaller than my biggest mat. Perfect. All right. And then now I have to gut out of this. So I think I need to keep this tighter. So I'll go over 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch from each side gives me 1 total inch. This is 6.25. So if I go 1 total inch over, that gives me 5.25. So I'll still have a little bit of extra. So I might go just a tad bit bigger, give myself just a little bit more than 1/2 inch all the way around. Okay, so all of the pieces are together. The first couple were really easy because these were full mats, but this one I had to be careful because I didn't have much space for my adhesive, so I had to make sure I got it all the way over to the edge so that it wouldn't stick out here too far. So I like how that looks. I'm glad I shortened it a little bit. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tear this at the top. I think I'm still going to want it a little bit shorter, but I can always trim off from the bottom when I'm ready. When you tear your paper, you just have to remember that if you tear toward you, you're gonna see the white core. I decided I didn't want to see the white core, so I changed it to tear that paper away from me. So I'll just continue like this along the whole strip. I brought my cheat sheet back in. I cut my wood grain piece down to 3 by 7 3/4. And then this piece that I had already trimmed off from this back mat was already the perfect size. I just had to trim 1/4 inch from this side, but otherwise it's perfect if I want that double mat. I don't know that I do because then that's going to cover a lot of this paper. I might want it to be a lot skinnier if I have anything. So I could do that, or I can do what Erin did. She inked around the edges of hers she had it on a not so busy pattern. So she could get away with just inking around the edges of this. And then she added little banners right here on the outside. Since my background is a lot busier, I think I do need another pattern to help set it off of this. But I could ink around the edges of this one and then just cut a little banner to go on the sides of here. So I'm thinking that I do want this to not be overlapping this at all. So I'm going to trim off about an inch. So with the torn edge, it's coming up about 3 3/4 to 4 inches, depending on where the tear is. So if you're going to replicate this, you're going to want to cut it at least probably 4 1/4 to give you space for tearing. I decided to ink around the edges of my title instead of adding that second mat, just to save some space. I didn't want to take up the room since that would cover up even more of that beautiful paper. So I'm just doing it very thin. I'm not going in very far. That's why I'm using an ink blending tool, and I'll end up doing the white piece of the title as well, and also around the photo mat. I probably would have inked around more pieces, except that I had already glued everything down, but that's okay. So many of you watching probably also follow Erin, and since we're celebrating her, I wanted to talk about her for a moment. She is not only super creative, but she is such an amazing person, so humble, so caring and kind, an amazing friend, and we have so much fun traveling together with the creative design team, as well as other things. We're on the same Stampin' Up team, and we go to team retreats, and right now we are actually in Orlando on the Stampin' Up incentive trip that we earned, and today, as this is airing, we are at the brand new Universal Studios Epic Universe Park, and I am sure we are having a blast. So go ahead and say hi to Erin down in the comments, and I'll let her know what you said when we're together. Okay, I have everything glued down except for this. I'm liking the direction. I cut a couple of little banners, just like Erin did, except for hers were out of that little patterned piece. And I like that because it brings in this color down here a little bit more and just kind of anchors everything. So I've got some embellishments here. I've got a few of the die cut pieces that I had picked out before. These do have a little bit of a wider margin than I like, so I trimmed around them just to cut down on that white margin a little bit. And I'm thinking this is going to be perfect actually, because I've got 3 pieces. I can create sort of a visual triangle, and I don't know that I like this up here. Let me try this up here. That's cute. I think I want it tucked under the photo so you can see more of it. And then maybe this one can kind of be like that, and we'll have some sprigs. And then Erin has a little cluster here. I've got this big flower, so I wonder if this flower could work even with the banner. Let's see if we tuck the banners in a little bit more. Still have this. I actually think I kind of like that. And then if we add some little sprigs, I had cut these little glitter piece sprigs. So these are actually from the Pretty Florals die set. So I cut this sprig, I cut some of these leaves, and I cut some of these little sprigs to use. There's some really great flowers too. This and this go together to create a standalone flower. So if I didn't have all of these die cut pieces from the scrapbooking kit, I probably would have used this flower. And then actually these 2 flowers cut out the flowers in this paper. So these ones, and then there's another one, these ones. And these ones cut out from those dies, which is really fun. When I cut out die cut pieces, I like to cut one of each of the colors that I'm using and one of each die. So I've got this kind of sprawling leaf die, or this delicate one that I have in the white glitter paper. Now I had cut that for a previous project and didn't use it. It didn't work for that project, and I'm actually really glad it didn't, because I'm not sure I would have thought to use it for this one, and I love the way it looks. I like how it pops off of that wood grain paper. And then I cut 3 of those same ones in green, 3 of the bigger leaves, and then 3 of the tinier sprawling leaves. Actually, I only cut 2 of the leaves that I had also cut in glitter paper, so I'm going to go off and cut another one of those after I get these other ones in place. So when I embellish, I always start with the largest pieces first, so those are my big floral die cuts, and then I go down to the smaller ones. So I stuck the leaves here and there where they looked good. And now I'm working down to smaller pieces. These are pieces from the Everyday You and Me kit. I wanted to work in a little bit more of that pretty peacock color that's in the title, and also that wild wheat color that's in the title. So they didn't quite go with the feel of the other flowers though, so I just tucked them way underneath so we have a hint of them. We can see a little bit of the wild wheat and pretty peacock, but they're mostly hidden, so you can't tell that they don't really match the style. And then there was the Love This little tab that I stuck underneath the photo at the top right, and that helps draw up that wild wheat color as well. I tried to make these word strips work because I wanted something tucked over that corner, but I just wasn't liking the words with such a big title down at the bottom, so I decided not to use those. But I found some flowers in one of the other papers that's in the DSP pack, so I fussy cut 2 of those out so you can see one of those up in that upper left cluster over the photo, and then I cut a partial flower and put it in the bottom left cluster, kind of tucked under the banner. It was one of the pieces that was cut off at the bottom of the paper, so I have it tucked under the banner so you can't even tell. I'm using the Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink gems. These are so pretty. I used them on my last layout, but I used the clear ones. Now I'm using the light pink ones, and they look so pretty. They've got gold flecks in the middle, and they're so shiny and gorgeous. I'll see if I can pick that up when I show you the close-ups here in just a moment. As always, I'll have the supplies I use listed down in the description below, and I'll also have still shots over on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest once I get around to posting them, and you can find the links to those down in the description below as well. Here's another look at Erin's layout so you can see how they compare. They're very similar but have their own looks, and I love them both. Be sure to check out the rest of the fabulous projects that the creative design team and friends have created. That playlist is on the right, and you can see another one of my videos on the left that YouTube recommends. Have a great day!